He looked at me so seriously. He goes, Kevin, if I can't do that, then I have no business being up there. And I was just like, we're a disciple, and this is our CCM spotlight. You know, I really have something to say when it comes to art as far as like God's faithfulness and His love and His mercy and His grace. You know, it's easy to talk about that God loves people when they're just wild and messed up and He can change their lives, but He also, you know, has mercy and grace for His children that, you know, blow it. And that's really been a very powerful message for me to learn, and a very powerful message for me to be able to share. If a youth pastor had never given me a White Cross album, I wouldn't be here. And then I discovered Petra shortly after that, and they're my favorite band of all time. And Stryper was the first Christian concert period that I ever saw. And so, I mean, these bands formed me, shaped me. Basically, their boldness and all of the sacrifice that they went through. I mean, the 80s was a different time. You know, Christians were outside protesting these bands, you know, and we've been protested like twice, you know.
Well, yeah, what we're learning about the 21st century music industry or music community really is that if you can have an album or a song or a collection of music that never wears out for people, like Petra and Stryper and all these bands, you can survive any of the like fads or the, you know, temporary highs that you would have seen more in the 80s and 90s, right? Like where bands are trying to win the lottery, get a song on the radio. It's a lot more now about like cultivating, you know, a community of listeners, and Disciples had that, I feel like, all along, definitely since I got here. You even see a lot of this where families come to the show and it's people bringing their kids and their fans, or sometimes their grandkids who are fans. And yeah. I think that's really what rock and roll is. Like, it makes a bond with people that can't really be broken.
The fact that anyone likes us at all is a huge blessing. And, you know, for someone to say, you're my dad's favorite band, I'm like, thank you. You know what I mean? Or your granddad's favorite band, you know, like, thank you. Like, I'm thankful that somebody likes us. We've played a few shows with Petra. We were riding back to the airport, and I was sitting next to John Schlitt, the singer, and he's in his 70s, and I was talking to him. I was like, okay, seriously, man. I was like, when you came on stage and then you just started, you literally told the crowd, let's go, and you started jumping up and down, and your feet were like 1.5 feet, 2 feet off of the ground. I was like, and I know how old you are. And he looked at me so seriously. He goes, Kevin, if I can't do that, then I have no business being up there. And I was just like, I'm gonna do this for 25 more years. I'm like, I am in, man. Let's go. I was so fired up after that conversation, you know. And
yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, it's like they've been a band for 50 years, and he's like, yeah, I'm getting up there and I'm doing exactly the way that it's supposed to be done. And
so much energy. Yeah.
There you go. That's why they're my favorite band of all time.
And you know what's cool is every show, like no exaggeration, every show we meet somebody, whether it's a kid or a teenager or sometimes even adults who say it's their first time at a rock show or their first time at a concert.
That era that I grew up in, which was going to Carmen concerts and going to Petra concerts and seeing the gospel presented at the concert, it was like Christian music was evangelism. And I didn't even realize in my young naivete that you could be a Christian musician and not have evangelism. I didn't realize that was a thing. I didn't know you could just be Christians in a band and write positive songs and that's all great. I just was unaware that was a possibility. I thought it was all about evangelism, and so I didn't even question whether that was what we were going to do. So we're like years into this thing, and I'm like, you know, cultivating relationships and friends with people who have a totally different way of doing it. And I'm like, oh, you can do it a different way? I was like, well, I'm already doing it this way, so I'm not going to change. I'm not going to change it now. It seems like we have always had this habit of writing 30-something songs or ideas for each album. We're really excited about these.
I did a little side project adventure called World Gone Cold with some other musicians. They invited me to
supergroup, if you will.
Yeah, they invited me into their supergroup to play guitar on some tracks, and Trey Daniels from POD was playing bass for that band, so I got to know him. We went to Knoxville and did some stuff at Travis Wyrick's studio, who's produced so many Disciple records. And I was super nervous to like stand next to Trey from POD. I mean, I was 12 when Satellite was out and dominating the world, and I had that CD and loved it. So I was kind of nervous, and he was just the nicest guy. And after we played some songs, he's like, "Hey man, it was an honor playing with you." I was like, "That's too nice." Like, what the heck? But we stayed in touch, and we hired him to play bass on 3 or 4 songs on this album, I can't remember now, that really just needed that like organic bassist touch. I was amazed at how he knew like when to stop playing. He would like let the bass drop out for a moment. So I would never think to do that, and it would just make the whole section.
It was cool,
amazing. So yeah, that was a fun partnership. The priority was 10 tracks.
Yeah, that was it. That was every album we've always done 12, 13, 14 tracks, and basically the way record deals are structured, they're based on 10 songs, and so we're always not caring about what it's costing us. It's like, but we have 13 songs. We want to give them to our fans, and and of course we pay the price because of the way the record deal is structured. And we were just like, all right, for once, let's just do 10 songs, and then we're not going to waste our time, or put all this extra effort and money into these extra songs. Let's just do 10, and then we'll do the other ones for the deluxe. So finally, all these decades later, we were like, let's make a smart business decision for once. And so that was the plan. So we just original 10, and then whatever didn't make it that we still liked, we knew we were going to revisit it with the deluxe. Our new album, Skeleton Psalms Deluxe Edition, is out right now. You can check it out on whatever streaming service you enjoy.
Listen everywhere.